Hello, we're back. If you see me for the first time, hey, I'm Gladys. I love cakes. And over here, I make simple, informative tutorials. We were here earlier. We made ourselves a vanilla cake. It's a sort of tray bake. Ugh. I did promise I was going to come back and show you the result of the bake, and so let's have a look. Yeah, it's baked on the inside nicely. It's going to have a nice spread of jam. I can't take it out just yet because if I do that, it will break apart. So here is our tray bake. It has baked evenly. I like that. The bottom could have risen a little bit, but it's neither here nor there. I like how even it looks. A little dent over here. Lollipop is back. We baked a tray one yesterday. It's not the same cake. We made a banana one from yesterday, which, don't ask me where the crust went, okay? Don't ask me. We left it in the fridge to chill overnight. So here is our banana one we made last night. I'm just cutting a little side piece of it. Look at what it looks like. Ooh. We have a social event for church, so this is just a tray bake for people to nibble on if you like. So there's not much to it. It's like a coffee slice if you like. In the past, when I have made them into chunky pieces, it's all gone to waste because after people have eaten rice and good food, cake is just something little for them to try. So these are just small bites for everybody. So not much. So we'll get to see how many servings we have over here. They do. So here's what a portion looks like. Which is huge if you come to think about it. So we have 2, 4, 5, 10, 15, 20, 25 servings. If we get these two, that is 50 servings. I don't even mind. The banana is lit in every way. I should be honest though, there are some sizes that are bigger than the other, but it's neither here nor there. You get it, you get it. I have some apple ones, as in spiced apple. Spiced apple sauce. I'm still contemplating if I want to add that. But we have 50 servings. This is not going to be the only dessert option. If you wonder why I'm gobbling down the cake, it's because I am hungry. I haven't had dinner yet, so I should probably take it easy. But who's going to say no to a good cake, okay? That's it. I need to kind of get this in a box. And then the vanilla one to chill. But that's an all-round view of our task yesterday. Lollipop says it's free cake. I can't complain, my darling. I wouldn't either. The vanilla one is so tender. Remember I told you I put vinegar in the... I put vinegar in the buttermilk, and the acids in that should tenderize the gluten. The cake is so tender. I want to flip it. Let me get a cake board. I have myself a flimsy cake drum. I'm not going to put I'm not going to put the warm cake on it. It will warp. So what I'm going to do is transfer the banana cake on it. And the banana cake, the best part is the caramelized sides. Ooh, it's so crunchy and banana flavored. Let's get these. If you love cake, you should try this banana. It's not heavy and doughy because it's cold and chill. It looks like that, but it isn't at all. There you go. I've got that. I can't even let the scraps go, okay? I'm going to eat my scraps. There you go. Okay, so we have the banana. Which is sitting here, so okay. So the hour and 5 minutes I set for the vanilla cake wasn't an hour at all. Okay. Okay, now we flipped it over. Antoinette, hi. Hello. Welcome. Well, this is the part that was closest to the oven, so you can tell it's caught some burns over there, but it's neither here nor there. And we've taken our I wish I could show you what it looks like on the inside. The crumb is so tender. You know what? For your sake, I'm just gonna cut. It's too warm, so it won't give us what we really need, but let's try and cut the burnt side here. If you look on the inside, even though it's burnt, look, the cake itself is still soft with a nice crust and the crumb. Okay. Good cake. Good cake. Even if I say so myself, okay? And if you're just joining me, hello there. Lovely to have you here. We baked this cake on an earlier live, so if you want to catch up all the details on that, check it out. We are here to show you the result of the final bake. So this too is going to chill, set, and then we will slice it. Probably another 25 pieces added to what we have, and there will be 50 pieces of cake. Not bad. If you're here with us, the only time I'll ask you for something is to consider liking the video so that YouTube can know that you've been here with us. I am sort of like, shall we? Now, if I cut into it, it will fall apart because the crumb is really delicate. So all 19 of you, where are you joining us from? Do you all love cake? Lots of cake. Lollipop. I know. Lollipop, what are you doing with the kids? With the school being off now? Are you... Oh, you were stressed anyway with that restaurant thing. Breakfast of champions, my darling. I woke up to porridge this morning, okay? I can't be out here eating chocolate cake all the time. So no, I woke up, I made my porridge with nuts and chia seeds. I mean, banana is a plant. So let's just say cake is salad. Don't argue with me. Okay? Don't argue with me. So that's my dinner. My dinner is banana salad. Who's had banana salad before? Tell me. If you've never had banana salad, you don't know what you're missing. It is so good. But hey, people. Hey, oh. Well, don't make the cake fall apart. Don't make the cake fall apart. I would shout and kind of keep you entertained, but you know what? I wanted to come and show you the results. And perhaps we'll be back making the apple sauce one tomorrow, if you like. So if you haven't seen much of us before, if you're in the chat, see, that's what happens when you eat a banana salad. Okay, if you're in the chat, do you want to tell us where you're joining us from and what the weather is like at yours? We are curious to know. It's about 30 degrees. Hep is back. Hep, darling, how are you? Welcome back. I still haven't eaten, but my dog just oh, okay. Have a wonderful evening, Lollipop. I'll catch you via text, my dear. All right, all the best, and fingers crossed for you. Hep. Oh, Daphne from New York. I remember you. You've been here before. You have. Hey, Daphne. Hey, girl. How are you? I mean, it's either you disappeared or we disappeared. Welcome back. How are you and how are you keeping? Great to have you. Yeah, Hep, I'm great. Thank you, my lovely. We were back earlier to catch up or to bake this cake. And it was a 40 minutes wait. The kitchen was hot. So people, I couldn't. I said, let's come back. So normally I like to take you from the start to the finish. And if you've been here, it's the same recipe. We adapt it slightly just so that you can learn something new every day. Baking deep can be a bit challenging, okay? Because the way the heat kind of like radiates in the oven can affect things slightly. And my oven is not perfect. We've had that conversation. It has hot spots and it also has a tilt at the back. So if I put a big tray like this in, it tilts at the back, which means the top of the cake is exposed directly to the fan, which blows the heat directly at it, which is why we have burns here. But the truth is, I'm not here to show you the perfect parts of baking. Actually, the lights are for the raw moments where we are unfiltered. You see the chaos, spoons flying in the kitchen. My head is a mess and I'm hot like butter. Okay? So thank you for stopping by though. So despite all of that, today wasn't chaotic. It was hot though, so we had to go and come back. And for that, this is the cake we baked. The crumb is very soft, so I can't cut into it. I can't show you what it looks like. But I did cut a little portion here. It is really, really soft. And for those of you who are just joining us on this one, the intention for this tray bake is because it's for a church gathering. There's going to be so much food. We're going to be having like local meals like jollof rice and all sorts. Now, the context of that is, what's that got to do with anything and why are you telling us this story? It matters because food and the way people feel and interact with food is different for most cultures. For instance, I am Ghanaian. I've lived in the UK now for a long time. But as a Ghanaian baker, it's like weird to me because growing up, cake wasn't a thing in part of my food selection. In fact, the only time I came into contact with cake was when I was at a wedding. And as a child at a wedding, you are not the intention over there. Nobody's trying to serve you cake, okay? The cake is for the adult and the child, get the crumbs. So growing up, cake was like the thing that was unattainable for me. Now, when I grew up and I could afford cake, I found that cake wasn't exactly what I thought it would be, because when I could afford cake, I could, especially in England, the cake was either too dry or too sweet. And I'm like, what is this? This isn't the cake I grew up obsessing over, but yet couldn't attain. So that, amongst with all secondary circumstances, inspired my baking journey, actually. So we're here. So what does this story have to do with the Ghanaian people and food? Most Ghanaian people, if you put cake in front of them, they don't give a shit what cake it is. They want the jollof, okay? They want the rice, they want the sauce. But if they are to eat cake, the cake has to be very specific, okay? The cake has to not be overwhelmingly sweet. It shouldn't be dry. It should be a bridge between a nice sweet cake with a nice mouthfeel, not overwhelming and not too dry over here. And that can be very difficult, especially when you're combining ingredients such as sugar, butter, and just flour. So one thing that I love to introduce in my cake is moisture, which is to add a particular moisture enhancing ingredient, which doesn't just increase moisture, but also adds to texture and aids texturizing the cake for a smooth crumb, right? So can I choose milk in the recipe? Yes. But all milk does is enhance moisture and add to the crumb to tighten it a little bit, right? When you go for buttermilk, that's a sweet spot, because buttermilk sort of brings a little bit, depending on quantity, by the way, it brings a little bit of a sort of sour mouthfeel. The quantity here is very less anyway, so it's neither here nor there. But the intention for buttermilk is just for that purpose, because it has a smooth, it has a sort of sour mouthfeel to the crumb, but it's, as an ingredient, it aids texturizing the crumb also because of the presence of acids. It helps to kind of bring your crumb very smooth and soft. And that result is even better if you add a little bit of vinegar to your buttermilk, because the quantity here is very little, we have about 120 grams, mils for that matter, against nearly 650 grams of sugar. You can see the distance here, or the amount here, is so wide. So 120 mils of buttermilk is not going to hit the sweet spot and reduce the sweetness of the sugar. But when you introduce vinegar, it cuts through, but it also helps to tenderize the cake, which means the intention for baking the cake is not just baking any recipe. It is baking a recipe that suits a particular need, a particular people, and a particular mouthfeel and preference. Does that make sense? That's the goal. Jackie Hart Herb says, yours looks so smooth. How did you achieve that, please? Water at the bottom of the oven. A lot of things influence. I've literally talked you through the intention for why it's soft. That's the intention. The intention here is that your ingredient quantities matter, like as in the ratio of your ingredients matter. But the core here is that if I took out the buttermilk alone, I will still get a cake like this, but it will be steadier, because then the cake is going to bake dry and there is no water element getting through. And remember, when you swap butter, because butter does have moisture in it, as in liquid in it, you have the fat content, which is about 80%, but you can push it to about 82% depending on the quality of the butter you are buying. The rest is liquid. That is if we're going for organic, authentic butter with no additives, right? So you have at least a little bit of about 10 to 15% of liquid there. Does that make a difference? Not so much, but it counts for something. When you swap that for a baking fat like stock, you are essentially opting for a dry bake, if you like. Because don't forget that when you go for baking spread as the option, or baking fat as your option, it is optimized to give you a bake that is steady and set and behaves like butter, but it isn't, right? So if I took out buttermilk, you can still retain the same quantities of ingredients. The result will be a steadier cake. But steady, is there a place for steady cake? Yes. If you didn't want your cake layers to collapse easily, then yes, a steady cake. But here's the problem though. If it comes out of the oven and it's steady, imagine what it is going to feel like when it's set and cool. It is going to be harder. So the mouthfeel is tighter and you have a drier, crumbly crumb, because there is nothing that is enhancing moisture for you and the feel of it. So you can make a few adjustments. The quantity, like this is my own recipe that I've adapted over the years. It's the same recipe I bake for customers. So there's nothing I'm hiding over here. In fact, I'm giving you the blueprint. When you bake a cake, it is not just baking a cake. You have to understand the intention you are aiming for. And so if you've been here long enough, I speak about adaptable recipes all the time. And adaptable recipes are useful because baking is precision cooking. You know, you have to stick with what you weigh, the amount. You have to follow an exact process. It is so pedantic, it's precise. You have to try and stick with it. And I think naturally as a Ghanaian, I have a default setting that's like bish bash bong. Do you know what that means? Pick, measure, do this, eyeball, and move on. Okay? That's my default setting. My default setting is not to be precise with anything. And if I stuck with that default setting, I'd be a very horrible baker. But you see, that's not a bad thing, because I have a default setting of bish bash bong, I had to aim for what will not rob me of the fun in the process. Because my dear old mother never knew about the weighing scale, but the woman can cook. Not bake though. Okay, the woman can cook, but cooking and baking are two different things, right? So I had to find something that appeals to my default setting while still giving me great results. And that's how I became used to adaptable recipes, because recipes are not the same all the time and they don't always function the same. You change one ingredient from the recipe you are used to without understanding, you have some some not so great results, right? So my goal was always to find a recipe where, just in case I felt like bish bash bonging things around, I would still get great results. So the ratio of ingredients works for me. And the one key ingredient that I can always shift is the liquid part. So for the buttermilk, today I wanted the mouthfeel to not be overwhelmingly sweet. So what did I do? I just added 10 mils of vinegar to the buttermilk so that it will help kind of taper down the sweetness and bring balance. Then I added 10 to 12 grams of salt to the self-raising flour, and all of this does enhance things, because you know what, in terms of taste, sugar is very bland. Stick with me. When I say sugar is very bland, it doesn't mean it's not sweet, but sugar is just like, it's a stale palate that you can add other things to, right? Because when you compare sugar, and I'm talking about white crystallized sugar, right? It is very bland. So when you are eating something that is just sweet, that's all you can feel, sweetness. But the sweetness is very clear for you. There's a word for it. I can't seem to get it now. But imagine having that sweetness and then salt. There's complexity there. And then with salt, you have vinegar. It kind of like enhances the taste. So all the choices I have made today is because the recipe allows room for it. Now, if I was baking for somebody who just wanted a crispy sweet cake, I can eliminate the vinegar and I'll still get great results. I can taper down the salt, still great results. But even better, I can swap the buttermilk for milk, because buttermilk and milk do not function the same. Milk has not got the acid element, so it is more like a moisture enhancer rather than affecting the texture of your cake. So if you really love a soft textured crumb, look into buttermilk and find a recipe that appeals to that, right? Most importantly, soft cakes have their place. For me though, again, back to my bish bash bong thing, soft cakes are great if you don't have to worry about height. Okay, so we could have even gone for a genuine sponge if you wanted to. But if you're a baker who has to think about height of cakes, where gravity will work against you, soft cakes are not exactly a good thing, especially if you're looking at a 3-tier cake. What do you mean you want a soft cake? But the good thing with this recipe is that the softness doesn't mean it collapses easily. No, it is soft as in the crumb quality. That's all. When you're stacking, you have to be careful, honey. Stacking any cake should come with a cautionary note that be careful, because otherwise, trouble ahead, trouble ahead, trouble ahead. Oh, you look like my grandma. Is that? I suppose that's a compliment, Jackie. Is it? Maureen says hi. Jackie Hart, you said, Jackie, is it me you were addressing? That's a compliment. I look like your grandma, Olivia. Oh, Grandma Olivia. That's lovely. Such a beautiful comment. Thank you. I appreciate that. I hope she wasn't melting in the kitchen like I look, though. My shiny face. Thank you for that, darling. Heb says, I don't like baking in deep pans. If one is not careful, then it can be so dense. You know what? I used to like baking deep pans for the convenience, because then you bake deep, it grows, it rises tall, and then you tort into it. But it takes technique, and in recent times, I'm over it. I'm over it. So because when I started baking proper, I optimized for deeper bake. So I'm still okay with it. Okay, if I have to, I am okay with it. But in terms of result, baking shallow is best, because I realized that baking shallow, you don't have to, because baking deep takes technique. but you can't, there are things you can't really control, like the heat, because if you're baking deep, it stays longer in the oven, and so you are going to have burns. So when I used to consistently bake deep, I would always have to like work out trimming and everything, whereas now trimming is more like a preference thing than it is about the cake. Does that make sense? So yeah, baking shallow is just the way to go, and it's much easier. But then also help just for you, baking deep, besides technique, the recipe has to work for deep baking, because most recipes are made for shallow baking where they like 2 8-inch tins, right? It doesn't necessarily tell you 2 8-inch tins standing at 3 or 4 inches. So when the language is very standard, then you go for what it refers to, which is the standard way of baking. And most recipe tutorials you will find go for the 2-inch bake or a little less than, like thin bake, shallow bake for that matter. But deep baking takes technique, and the recipe has to work for it. So because, for instance, if your recipe doesn't have moisture enhancing ingredients and you go and double the recipe and you want to bake deep, first of all, it might not rise to the occasion, as in it might not give you the rise you want. And secondly, it's going to bake longer, which means you end up with a drier, dense sponge. I have since, like, all my baking tins, remember I've showed you before, my baking tins are deeper, they are 4-inch, and I used to kind of like line them over the lip, so they rise a little over the 4-inch, and you're looking at 4.25-ish. I will say confidently, the only recipe that sustains well for an hour and 15 minutes in that amount of heat is still my red velvet cake. It bakes deep, it's fine, I'm great with it. But for the rest of them, it's like, especially lemon would just burn. So my lemon cakes, I have opted to just bake double rather than just bake deep. Enjoy your meeting, Hef. I think we might be back tomorrow, and we'll see you then, darling. Take care. It's always lovely to catch up with you over here. For the rest of you who missed the banana cake, oh, let's have a look. The banana we did yesterday, we've kind of cut into it, and here's what we have. I've been eating bits of it already. We have 50 slices, and I've already eaten some of the crust. So yeah. Oh, I said 50 slices. No, that's a lie. That's 25 slices, and these are the size. Like, it's a coffee slice, if you like, and it's huge, because after eating jollof rice, you don't want to do anything else. Let's see how big that is. You know me. Oh, that's about 2.5. Yeah, 2.5. So that is bigger. That is bigger than your party slice, because if we were doing party slices, this is what you will have. And if we were doing wedding slice, this is what you will have. So a finger or wedding slice, a coffee slice, or a party slice. And then anything above is just what you really want to make of it. So it's neither here nor there. But yeah, our cake is done. Perhaps I'll keep it chill, and when we come back tomorrow, that is if we do, I will post in the community post. I know I haven't done that. I am sorry. You will get to see. We should be getting another 25 slices out of this. Again, I have some apple sauce here. We might be back baking another one apple. I don't know, but it's hot and I'm bothered. So people, let's call it a day. It's been lovely hanging out with you, and I'll see you on the next one.